there are folks out there that are leaders at firms that have 20, 30 years of using older technology, traditional material handling systems that have been around for decades. If you have a system that takes less space, can deploy faster, costs less, and is 4 times as productive, why would you use the older technology?
Right.
The Industrial Sage Executive Series, sharing the stories behind game-changing executives, their organizations, and insights into today's industry challenges.
Well, hello and welcome to today's Industrial Sage Executive Series. I am joined by Tompkins Robotics, their CEO and president, Mike Futch. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today on the Industrial Sage Executive Series.
Thank you for having us. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk with you yet again. I think we had you on maybe about a year ago or several months ago. My train of thought from time has just completely changed with COVID.
I think it was early summer of 2020, right when we were in the middle of everything and all the uncertainty.
That sounds about right. It sounds like we're still in the middle of stuff with a lot of uncertainty, but hopefully it's getting a little bit better. But we'll kind of jump into that here in a little bit. So for those who aren't familiar with Tompkins Robotics, if you could just give me a little high level on who you guys are and what you do.
Certainly. So Tompkins Robotics is really focused on using a fleet of AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, that we use for primarily sortation. So think about anything from the size of a penny or a business card up to a meter by a half meter and 30 kilos or 66 pounds. We have different models that can sort small things, medium-sized things, large things. And we're using those robotic sortation systems to take the place of traditional material handling systems that have been around for, quite honestly, decades. And so we've got a really exciting portfolio of products. And we've really had some interesting things happen in the last 12 months, so to speak. We're starting to work with other robotic firms where we combine our technology with other robotic technology. So think about goods-to-person AMRs. Some people say the old Kiva style system of moving a shelving pod. Think of pick assist AMRs like a Chuck from Six River. And think about goods-to-person ASRS like an auto store. We actually have installations where our primary system, T-Sort, is bolted to an auto store, and the automated storage and retrieval feeds a pick board where the items are placed on our robots to sort out to 500 or 1,000 orders. Our systems are unique compared to traditional conveyorized systems in that everything you see in our system typically is on wheels, which makes it portable, mobile, is very scalable and modular, and all of that drives a lower cost, higher flexibility, and it's really been a game changer for our customers. And we deploy our systems throughout the entire arena, both retail, doing e-commerce, store replenishment, returns, shipping. We're doing manufacturing, postal, a lot of different areas. Anywhere that you are sorting individual items for orders or packages to go to a home or a business. We even have a micro-fulfillment solution, believe it or not. And we just recently had a customer sign up, and the primary reason they signed up was because we could sort eggs with a watermelon behind it, and the eggs are not damaged. And so some really exciting stuff going on there.
Well, quite the varied applications there. Yeah, I mean, I could see that being an important thing to be able to make the distinction and handle properly a watermelon versus eggs right behind it. That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned earlier on, you said, those are some of the changes that have happened. Was that, changes that since we last spoke last summer?
Oh, yes. So some of the things like the micro-fulfillment solution, which now has actually been sold to several different customers and others are seriously considering it. We just had the idea when we talked a year ago about doing micro-fulfillment. We hadn't figured out exactly how we were going to do it. And so that's all come about in the last 12 months. We've also had some other things that have happened in the last 12 months that have been pretty exciting as well. So, for example, I mentioned partnering with AutoStore.
Yeah.
We're not an auto store distributor, but we partner with some key folks like Bastion Solutions and Keeker Pulse Integration. That's the merger here recently. I think it's been about maybe 2 months ago. Pulse Integration and Keeker merged together. And so working with them, we're doing auto store and T-store collaborations. We have a relationship with Gray Orange where we do the goods to person AMR delivery to a T-store system. Obviously, there's robotic pick and place customers or clients that we work with. And then we have a new product that is called Exchange. Now, this was something we may have mentioned to you last year, but we didn't really have a good plan for it. And Exchange is a machine that will come after the 4 items for your e-commerce order are sorted into a container, or the 40 items are sorted to a store replenishment aisle of less than case quantities to replenish the store shelf. And when that carton is full or that order is complete, imagine, if you will, a robot that comes and picks up that completed order, takes it away, and puts an empty back in place. And so now what we've done is automated the exit side of item sortation. And so that's really exciting. And that's a collaboration we're doing with IM Robotics, where we're using their technology and working together to develop a solution to bring to the market in 2022.
Well, it sounds like you've been very busy over the last 12 months. How much of this was in the works, pre-COVID versus a response to COVID?
Well, I'll tell you, the Exchange, I had a couple of guys at the office wrote a patent on that in 19. So that's been percolating for quite a while. And so it was not COVID driven. I think the biggest thing that was COVID driven for us was the micro fulfillment, because when COVID hit and everyone was talking about buy online, pick up at store, and the retailers were struggling, both the grocery chains and other types of stores, we had a little time on our hands because, quite honestly, to be perfectly honest, there were a few customers who canceled or delayed some orders. So we looked around and said, wow, micro fulfillment seems to be something that's here to stay. It's grown by leaps and bounds, or at least it looks like it's going to grow by leaps and bounds. And what can we do that's different from the ASRS solutions that everyone else offers? So the alerts, the fabrics, the takeoffs, the auto stores, the Dymatics, all the ASRS suppliers for micro fulfillment. Is there a simple, less expensive way to use T-Sort to get some of the bang for the buck? And we came up with an option driven by COVID and everything that happened in the spring and summer of 2020, using our T-Sort system to sort the items. So you could batch pick 100 people's orders. So you're going down an aisle picking everything for those 100 orders. I'm going down another aisle picking everything for those orders. And we don't have dedicated inventory like the ASRS micro fulfillment solutions. But now I go to the back room to a T-Sort and I batch pick at a 5x the rate of what I get if I'm doing individual orders picking. And I use automation to sort it out to the individual order. And so now I've got a system that, quite honestly, is 1/10 of the cost, 1/10 of the space, and 1/10 of the lead time of an ASRS solution that could go into certain stores. Let's face it, not every store is going to be justifiable to put a $3 to $5 million ASRS on the back of it, or even at every cluster of 3 stores. And so we think there's a market segment where our solution that's store-based could be applicable for at least certain stores for most chains.
Yeah, absolutely. Micro fulfillment obviously was. If I had $1 every time I heard, the new thing. Obviously, that was a big thing. Everyone, that was a big challenge. Obviously, that everyone was seeing. Relative to some of these changes, I guess that you've seen, that you've experienced, relative to the market, and also maybe even just internally from how you're handling workforce, work from home versus people coming back. What of those changes that you've seen, what do you think going forward that is going to look like? Do you think they'll stay intact? Is it going to, roll back? What are you seeing?
Well, I'll tell you, I really had high hopes. All of us did, that before the Delta variant came out that things were going to get back to normal by the end of this year. Now, all bets are off, so to speak. So where I really hope this goes is that we can eventually get back to where travel is no longer a problem, because the travel restrictions have been a real, let's just put it bluntly, a pain. Our deployment that we did in Auckland, New Zealand, as you can well imagine, with the shutdown they had in that country, the folks we sent over had to do the full 2 weeks, couldn't leave their room except for to walk in a courtyard, 1 hour a day. It was really onerous requirements to get those folks on the ground over there to be able to take the system to a go live status. And so we really want to get away from that. As far as in-office staff, when we had COVID hit, obviously everybody started working from home, except for when you had to be in the office. There's certain things that just, you have to be there. Sure. Because we are a manufacturer and we have to test systems and do things. But we're still in the mode right now where you're only in the office if you have to be. I don't know for certain if we'll ever go back to where everyone's in the office every day, all day long. I'm not sure that we'll ever do that again. It may be a new situation that is a mix of in office and at home, and maybe a few days in, a few days out in a given 10-day period. But the bigger concern for us right now for our business are travel restrictions and accessibility to get to sites and be able to deploy the solutions that our customers are buying. And with the Delta variant and the recent developments, I'm really not sure where it's going. I'm worried that 18 months from now, we'll still have certain restrictions because of folks not getting vaccinated and new variants that may come out. Who knows what might pop up around the holidays? There could be a different variant.
Yeah, I think, we talked about it earlier, about just the uncertainty of everything. And obviously, like we were thinking, at this point, we would be there all clear. Obviously, that's not the case. And it's kind of anyone's guess, maybe at this point, as to what will happen, relative to all the different variables that we're looking at. So it's just interesting.
And one other thing on that too, what if a variant comes out that the vaccine doesn't protect you against? We're back to square one.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's interesting. We're starting to see some of that play out a little bit. We'll see what the future, how that all sort of pans out. But I'll ask you this, question. This doesn't necessarily have to be like COVID related, specific or not. But if you had a magic wand, I'm giving you one. And what was one thing that you'd like to see improve or change within the industry?
Well, so if I had a magic wand to do anything, COVID would be gone. But,
yeah. All right, so here's your second wand. Here's the second one. Yeah.
Yes, so that wand doesn't have anything to do with the industry, so to speak. So a magic wand for the industry, there are folks out there that are leaders at firms that have 20, 30 years of using older technology, traditional material handling systems that have been around for decades. And a lot of those leaders have not embraced cutting edge technology, AMR technology, robotic solutions, et cetera. If I could get those guys to just embrace, this new technology, this new frontier, because quite honestly, when you think about it, a traditional put wall, which many people in the supply chain have used for decades. If you can have a system that takes less space, can deploy faster, costs less, and is 4 times as productive, why would you use the older technology?
Right.
And the same way about traditional sortation systems, whether you're talking a tilt tray, a cross belt, a bomb bay, a slide tray, if it's less space, more upside capacity, lower cost, higher savings, faster ROI, and by the way, with our system, it's completely portable. You can pick it up and move it to another building. Why would you not embrace the new technology? And at this day and time, you would think more people would have embraced robotic technology than have. And what we're seeing is the people who have an imperative, either through their management has decided that they're going to lead. And think of people like Walmart and Target, for examples, or firms that get between a rock and a hard place because they just don't have a good solution that they can mass roll out quickly to adapt to COVID and everything else that's going on. Those are the ones that are adopting this technology more so than anyone else. A lot of traditional firms that have been around for 50, 100 years even, they're still doing things the way they've done it in the past, and they're slow to adopt to the new technology. So if I could get them off the dime, that would be my magic wand.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, have you seen, you kind of mentioned there in your answer that, but just relative to COVID, that's helped to kind of accelerate things a little bit more, at least maybe not even necessarily that they've pulled the trigger, so to speak, on these solutions, but even just say, hey, you know what, we really do need to look at something else because we've got too many operational issues, or because of the demand in, the fulfillment needs have just risen exponentially. I mean, has that helped further that conversation or even explore, new ways?
Yeah, it has. So before COVID ever happened, we were already transitioning to more of an each handling environment. Fewer cases, full cases going to stores and being shipped, to more onesie twosie type of operation. And when you're doing and you're handling an order that has single items, your labor content goes up exponentially. And then COVID just threw JP4 jet fuel on the flames and made a maelstrom of hot need for e-commerce fulfillment, which has higher labor at the same time that you had lower labor availability. It was like the perfect storm. And so the firms that are really trying to get ahead of it out there, they're trying to adopt to robotic solutions that allow them to scale quickly, roll out across their network very quickly, and adopt to this new reality of life. Some of the customers that we had back in 18 and 19, they're now on the path of rolling out, an additional 3, 10, 20 sites. And cookie cuttering out our technology, even though the technology doesn't have cutter, they're just rolling it out across their networks. And that's really driven a lot of our business. So, the business that we've seen that really started in the summer of 2020, when the phone started ringing off the hook and there was a flurry of activity about what am I going to do? Can you help?
Right.
That's driven into a phenomenal 2021 for us. And it consists of new customers, new applications like the exchange and the micro fulfillment, and then large customers rolling out in mass across a lot of sites. And so our year in 2021 will be our best year ever, our biggest year. We actually turned a profit in 2019. So we've already been turning a profit, but we'll turn more this year. And given where we are right now, we're projecting that we're going to double or better every year for the next 3 years.
Wow.
We think the market is that hot.
Well, it definitely feels hot. That's for sure. Congratulations on that. That sounds great. I mean, hey, who would have thought? Obviously with e-com, it's pushing. I mean, it's crazy. You mentioned, that the jet fuel was poured on thanks to COVID. One question that I'm just kind of curious about for those who are a little resistant to change or adopting some of these new technologies, what is I'm assuming that most companies that are say, hey, we want to, toe dip into this approach, they're going to do some sort of pilot program. What does that look like? And generally overall, I know that probably depending on the application, there's many different variables, but in general, a company comes in, they want to do a pilot program at one site before they roll out. From a time frame perspective, what does that look like on average?
So our typical first install is 6 months from contract signed to go live. If you look at the system running over my shoulder here in the background, it consists of these platforms that the robots run on. It consists of induction stands where you put the items onto the robots, and then the robots sort into chutes, into containers where the items are sorted to. And those could be packages, or those could be individual items for an order going to your home. And so it's about a 3-month lead time to manufacture and deliver all the componentry. There's about a 1 month at the beginning, just doing detailed design to make sure everybody's on the same wavelength. We've got our IT blueprinted out and we know exactly what messages, all of that stuff. Then 3 months to deliver, manufacture and deliver. And then we install it and we turn it on and we're walking out the door after 6 months. We've done systems in less time, but that's typical for the size systems that we're doing these days. Now, once the system has been done, we can roll a micro fulfillment site out, as long as the orders are going 1, 2, 3, 4, going down the line, you can install a micro fulfillment system and have it live in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's after all the IT integration has
Sure.
been done, right? You ordered it. So when you knock on the back door, here I am, let me in. 2 weeks later, you can leave and the system is operational.
That's
That's
fantastic.
for a small micro fulfillment, not for a big, large, million square foot distribution center doing, 35,000 an hour.
Yeah. Wow. So, so again, if I'm a company that's kind of sitting there saying, yeah, gosh, maybe I need to jump on this. From a lead time standpoint, from a production and installation standpoint, is there a backlog right now, or if I were to come in and sign today, again, relative to how big my facility is and what I want to do, obviously I know there's a lot of different variables, but is there some sort of standard lead time that would need to be looking at? You mentioned 3 months there, initially, but from today.
So, it's just like I said there. You sign a contract with us. We're typically live and walking out the door 6 months later. So when we're doing a larger scale program, and we've got a program that we're working on with a customer that's going to be with the plan is to do 18 sites. The first site took 6 months. Every site after that is planned to go live 1 per month.
That makes sense.
One right behind the other. And that's the speed at which they want to move. We could do it a little faster if we needed to. These are actually sites that are regional facilities across the country for a retailer.
Okay, no, that's good. So it'd be good to know. I mean, obviously, it doesn't look like. It sounds like it's a super long time to be able to get something installed and moving and rolled out. So that sounds pretty cool. One kind of random question. It's not a random question, but I like asking executives these questions because we get a lot of different answers, and I love hearing this. But obviously you've had so much going on. Being an executive, CEO, president of an organization is very demanding and very stressful to begin with. Then you add a pandemic on top of that, and you add all the issues between labor and supply chain and increased demand, all this stuff that's going on, having to make tons of decisions without having all the information. What are you doing to stay on top of your game?
Well, that's an interesting question. There is so much uncertainty right now. It's kind of hard to really know exactly what you think is going to happen. What you think is going to happen 6 months from now maybe doesn't happen. But as far as trying to keep our business moving forward, you'll notice when I talk about all the different models like Exchange and partnering with Gray Orange and Right Hand and IAM and AutoStore and Bastion and KPI, all that stuff, and then the new models like we came out with a Mini, we came out with a T-Sort Plus, and so we expanded our sortation portfolio. We are expanding our software as time goes on. So we do research and we try to think about real world. What are the problems that people who are running supply chains facing? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's the labor issue. There's also the segmentation of workforces now. It's nice to have your workers in one area of the building, not touching workers in another area of the building in case someone in one pool gets infected. Maybe the whole building doesn't get infected. So there's worker segmentation, there's labor issues, there's scalability, rapid deployment. There's a lot of different things. And then there's combinations of technologies and new invention like our Exchange system, to try to automate more steps. And so we do a lot of research and product development trying to think about where the future is going to be and where could we, with our goalpost of what we're trying to do, add value to our customers, our shareholders, and to the marketplace. And so we try to keep on top of that, work very hard to think about where we're going and what we want to do. And what we've accomplished since 2016 is pretty impressive, in my opinion. Then the other thing that I try to make it a thing to do is, I think it was Ronald Reagan that used to say, surround himself with a lot of smart people, because a lot of people said he wasn't that smart. Now, I don't know whether he was that smart or not, but I try to surround myself with some leaders and some people who bring some fresh thinking that help with our growth and our projection of where we're going and help us stay relevant. Because you can't grow a business and double or better every year for 4 years running and one guy be in control of everything. We've got to expand our leadership team, bring new blood in, and grow this thing as a joint effort, because you can't all reside with one person. Absolutely.
No, it's that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if Ronald Reagan said that or not, or rather, if you said you weren't sure whether he was the smartest guy in the room or not, or whatever. But that makes a lot of sense. Surround yourself with smart individuals, people who can get a different perspective and different thinking and outside the box, stay relevant. I love it. It's great. That certainly has served you well. Certainly over the last several months that we've had to deal with this. So and then some. So well, Mike, I really appreciate the time that you have kind of given us to be able to kind of sit down with you and ask some questions via Zoom. For those who'd like to learn more about your products and your services, they can go to tompkinsrobotics.com. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And Tompkins has no H, because sometimes people put an H in it and you won't get to the right spot.
No H. That's good to know. No H. The H is silent and not present. Okay. Yeah. So, but again, thanks again for your time and sharing some insights and just, again, sitting down with you just to chat.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. And I'm looking forward to speaking again, maybe a year from now.
I think we'll have to do that. We'll do a little, we'll see where things are a year from now. All right. Well, great. Thank you. Well, that wraps today's Industrial Sage Executive Series with Tompkins Robotics. I was talking with Mike Futch, who is CEO and president. Kind of a, picking up on the episode that we did an interview about a year ago. So if you want to be, kind of interesting, go check out the previous interview, kind of see where we are now today. A lot of great things, obviously. If you are an executive who's not subscribed to the executive series, I highly recommend go to industrialsage.com right now. If you're not there already, if you're listening or watching on some social media channel, go there, subscribe, because you're missing out on great content like this. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for watching and or listening. I'm Danny Gonzalez, and I'll be back next week with another episode on Industrial Sage.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Get notified every time there's a new episode by signing up for our email newsletters. You can also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a review so more industrial professionals can find us. Want us to tell your story? Go to industrialsage.com. This week's episode was produced by Rika Wiersma, filmed and edited by Optimum Productions, and our executive producer is Danny Gonzalez. Thank you for watching Industrial Sage.